morning, and thank you for joining us. I'm Alero Edu, and this is Sunrise.
I'm Ayamakide. Good morning. Welcome to the program. And I hope you have somewhere around you your cup of cocoa.
Or if you decide, cocoa, that's fine too.
Yeah.
Anyone that catches your fancy, just make sure that you're right there listening to us till 12 noon at least.
Most certainly.
Well, I'm hoping that you are not at queuing at some ATM or at some fuel station.
Just say any of the queues. Or perhaps you should know which queue is your choice today.
Choice? Sometimes you don't have a choice. And the funny one for me is that you now have to buy the naira, buy in inverted commas.
Oh no, it's the parallel market.
Yes. And somebody posted the naira is appreciating
Against the naira.
against it.
You know, this thing is not funny, Valero.
No. But
and I'm happy that...
If you don't laugh, you'll just give yourself a high blood pressure.
Okay, take this case in point. I had a leak in one of the bathrooms, at home. And so I invited a plumber, gave him some money, to go get, stuff that he was going to use to...
You gave him or you transferred?
I transferred money to him. Okay, I gave him some money. Okay, so I transferred cash to him. I transferred money to him. I said, just go get the things that you need to get. So he got there. You don't even know what I'm going to say. Why are you laughing?
Because I can't imagine.
So he said to me, so he got to, well, first of all, it took about 6 hours before he got the cash. Because it's interbank.
No, before he got the alert.
The alert. Oh, God.
Not the cash.
Okay. It took about 6 hours for me to be debited from my bank.
Okay.
So overnight, he got this thing. He was the one that kept assuring me that, don't worry, that this thing happened. Say, really? So let me not even mention the bank so I don't embarrass them. So long and short, he got the money overnight.
He got the alert.
He got the alert. Okay, he got the alert overnight.
And then the search for the money began.
So the following morning, he started, I didn't even know. So I think while I was on Sunrise Daily yesterday, he called me. I just sent him an auto response. Look, I'm in the studio, what's going on? He didn't call back, he didn't send a message. I called him after the program. I said he just wanted to tell me that he was looking for a place to get cash. So after about 2 hours, he calls back and said, Oga, it's like we're going to postpone this thing, or we're going to chill. I said, why? He said he got to the first place. There are a number of places that he got to. They said that to collect 10,000 naira, they would collect a charge of 2,000 naira. 20%. And I said to him, that's what's been happening. Let's suspend it. He said, okay, sir, because he cannot even make sense of the whole thing. I said, fine, just at least I know that I'm going to live with the leak for a while. Long and short, after about maybe another hour or two, he calls and says that he was at the gate. I thought, okay, you've just come to pick your bag. Said he couldn't even imagine coming to me to say he wants to just pick his bag and go home, only to come another time. That he got a place eventually, that they charged him 1,000 naira for the deduction. How much will my bank charge me? 65 naira to collect money from Atom. Atom. So that's how my bank... Now, that's the reality of some people. Atom, anytime money. Which is ATM. ATM. But it's no longer anytime money. It was your friend that called it Atom. Jones Hussein. Crazy Jones, still as crazy as ever. Atom. You got the Atom. So that's how much my bank would charge me for that. Transfer, I have been charged. Collection of the same cash, I'd be charged. But this fellow had to, from a fellow Nigerian. It's business. And that's one queue. It's business, man. Do you know how much the POS operator paid to be able to have his stock of money? God. I can't even imagine that. Exactly. Well, gratifying to know that the authorities at the highest levels are also concerned. It is gratifying.
The president says to give him a week.
That was a response to the governors, the APC governors, they call themselves progressive governors, that said, look, we're concerned about this. This is getting out of hand. And they went and met the president and said, look, can we have the old and the new notes operate pari passu until there is a balance? President says, give me 7 days. That's the 7 out of the balance of 10 days that is remaining. My prayer, and of course I see that the vice president is also concerned because he's speaking to the practitioners in the fintech space. Look, some people will need cash. How many times you bought a cab in Abuja? Are you going to tell the guy, I'm going to transfer 200 naira for this ride?
100 naira for that matter.
That is there, and a number of things. It's only imaginable how prices of things are. And we're talking about major cities now. I saw a video on someone's status in Enugu. People are, God forbid that this unrest will build up to the point that it will be out of our hands. We should do everything we can to mitigate it. This is not about politics
There was a protest in Marina last week.
And same thing happened in Ibadan yesterday, from what I gathered. So I want to believe that the authorities are aware of this. Now, DSS, I want to believe that they are also filing all of these reports out to especially the office of the president, to let him know that these things are happening. Let's forget politics now. People have to survive. Otherwise, it'll give vent to what people are saying, that, look, these are attempts to frustrate efforts at the elections, because INEC is already saying, look, if this unrest continues, the elections may not hold. Is this a game plan by some people to make sure that the elections don't hold? I think not. And a number of people are making these statements. I want to believe that the president is aware, the authorities are also aware, to ensure that these things don't happen. People have their PVCs and they are ready to vote.
And if this thing persists, people will not have money to feed by next week. People are already beginning to strip themselves naked in banking halls. People are losing their lives because people cannot access cash to be able to pay. Some people, in fact, some filling stations were asking for cash during the week.
I was going to go there. That's the next thing that I was going to say. Banks are now insisting, I'm sorry, fuel stations are now insisting, if you don't have the new notes,
no fuel.
We won't give you fuel.
No.
And the deadline, according to the CBN, is not going anywhere. So let's wait for the CBN, for the president. But what are we doing to ensure that the unrest doesn't spill over or spill out of control before the 7 days that the president has asked for expires?
And those who are saying that there's an ulterior motive somewhere, don't ask me who has the ulterior motive. Sometimes you think about it and you actually want to agree with them, because you must have noticed that it's becoming increasingly more difficult to transfer money.
Exactly.
I went and got some grocery yesterday from a store, and my card was declined twice. I had to return the grocery. So, okay, I'll go home without food.
I went to a place that I hadn't been ever in my life, somewhere in Ikeja yesterday. I got some work done on a little phone for my little girl. And how much was I to pay? 2,500 naira. Of course, I didn't have cash. And I told the guy, I'm not going to drop this phone. I'm going to go home, and I'll transfer your money to you later. Your 2,500 is not going to kill me. Somehow, the guy agreed that I should go. I tried all of yesterday to send the money. I was only able to send it this morning. Now, how many people? Markwe had a similar experience in Abuja, and said she tried to, make the transfer.
Yes, I heard.
She said, look, those ones are the ones I told her, we know you.
You will come back next week.
How many people have that credibility all over Nigeria?
Yeah.
So, as we often say, the work of the government officials are cut out for them. Better do the things.
So which queue are you on?
You took some notes. Oh, yes, which queues? PVC queues are also there.
PVC. I still haven't got my PVC, but I've been assured that I will get it because I intend to vote.
My Nigeria assures
INEC, no matter what you do, I must vote.
Well, Mr. Okoye, I am hereby calling on behalf of Alero and millions of Nigerians. They do not have that. Mr. Festus Okoye, by the way, spokesman of INEC. Yes, I know. I shouldn't be doing that, but yeah, I'm doing it right now.
You're calling him out.
I'm calling you out.
I did my transfer on June the 6th. Isn't that enough time for my PVC to be ready? I have been 3 times and I've been told, sorry, it's not ready. Sorry, it's not ready. They haven't printed it.
Actually,
how many months does it take to print a card?
Maybe yours is one of the special ones.
What is special?
Oh, my, I mean, there's some people who are special, so your PVC has to come in gold card.
Listen to yourself. Just listen to yourself. I mean, who knows little me?
Please.
I'm sure the president's PVC is the same, looks the same as yours.
No, you have been on this program for more than 20 years. So Nigeria knows you. Nigeria appreciates you, so we're going to give you something pristine. Yeah.
Someone has been drinking some cocoa laced with God knows what.
No, it's not expired cocoa. I assure you.
Laced with something I don't know. Oh yeah, during the week, building collapse in Abuja. Something has to be done about this. Some people have to be called out so that this phenomenon becomes a thing of the past. Building collapse. We thought that when the Lagos one happened and so many people lost their lives, that we had learned our lesson.
When we raised this issue yesterday morning, Alero, was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday morning. The thought that crossed my mind was, at what point do we drop the ball? Because sometimes when we cross some hurdles, we just take for granted that, oh, it's done. What did we do to ensure it doesn't happen again? And are we staying on the issue? Okay, so there are 2 levels. For me, there are 2 levels of authority here. One, the level of the people who are supposed to go out to monitor the buildings and ensure that they comply.
Ministry.
And all of those things. Fine. Then there are those who monitor the monitors. Who are those ones? Who are the bosses of the people who go out to monitor building collapse or building processes to ensure that the people stay on the ball? The understanding is that this building, the builder just thought, look, let's add another floor. To what?
Add another floor. Was there approval for it?
And of course not. So countless things that just come from, there are some things that are not just imaginable, but hey, these things do happen. So see something, say something is something we tout. Let's make it a daily lifestyle. And please, for God's sake, the value of human lives should make it something.
It looks like we have reached a point now where human life has no value to us anymore.
Unfortunately.
We don't think anything about adding an additional story to a house and causing the whole building to collapse, killing those. The one in Lagos hadn't even been completed, so it was the poor construction workers.
I don't even know what to say to that, but hey, we're done. It's all
okay. We're going to start today's program by looking at the Corruption Perception Index. That's Transparency International again at work.
And safety on Lagos roads. Well, maybe safety on our roads, but more of Lagos perhaps as a macrocosm of the whole of Nigeria.
And policing the Nigeria police. Ha ha.
Why is that funny?
It's very interesting. So who is policing the Nigeria police?
Good. Now, who is also policing your blood? Yeah, that's the next one. Lifestyle, keeping the blood healthy.
And then we shall close with the Artist of the Week segment, as is usual on Sunrise.
And that is a him, a shim. Just a question. Why are you laughing?
He is a he.
He is a he.
He is a he.
So all the he's watching us now, go grab your spouse a cup of kelkel in bed.
Ooh, that would be nice. That doesn't happen often. Thank you for being with us this beautiful Saturday morning, in spite of all the queues out there, which I'm sure you are going to be a part of one way or another in the course of today.
Directly or remotely.
but never mind. The important thing is that we woke up this morning and we're grateful to God for life.
Yes,
so
we are.
Life goes on. Now, Transparency International, they have ranked Nigeria 150 among 180 countries on the 2022 Corruption Perception Index. The country maintained its previous year's, that is 2021's, score of 24 out of 100 points. But there was a change in rank from 154 to 150. Now, to look at this with us this morning, I'd like to welcome the Director, Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, CISLAC, Mr. Awal Rafsanjani, who is joining us via Zoom from New York. Good morning.
Good morning, and good morning, viewers.
Good morning, Mr. Rafsanjani. Can you hear us?
Yes, good morning. I can hear you very well.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us this morning. Would you say this is an improvement, or it is just repeating the class?
Okay. I think a kind of background so that viewers and listeners can understand what Transparency International tries to do. First, Transparency International is not assessing the work of EFCC, ICPC, Code of Conduct, and the rest of them. Transparency International is not also assessing the anti-corruption work of the Nigerian government, whether it's doing bad or it's doing good. Transparency International Corruption Perception Index only centers on public perception on corruption and looking at the level of bribery, looking at the level of diversion of public funds, looking at use of public office for private gains, looking at nepotism in the civil service, also looking at the state capture, as it were, and equally looking at Nigerian government effort in terms of enforcement of integrity mechanism. It is also looking at the effective prosecution of politically exposed persons. It also looks at the existing or an inadequate legal framework of the fight against corruption. So it is important that we first understand that. Then let me also answer your question. So there are two parameters that Transparency International uses to measure perception of corruption in a country. For Nigeria, there are 8 sources that Transparency International is using, because Transparency International does not sit down to put together this. It simply relies on credible institutions that do perform rating of countries. And Nigeria, incidentally, is part and parcel of some of those institutions or sources. For example, Nigeria, we all know, is part of the Economic Intelligence Unit of the IMF. Nigeria is also part of the IMF because Nigeria goes to even borrow money from the IMF. And of course, other agencies that Transparency International use their ranking to put together this includes, of course, world varieties of democracy. They look at how political parties function in a country. They look at how democracy function. They look at all these issues of vote buying that politicians are doing. They also, another source also look at the level of decay in the judiciary. We all know how judiciary in Nigeria is. So it is important to understand that there are 8 sources that Transparency International look at their data. And this institution or agencies are institutions that are credible. Everyone knows, like I said, Nigeria is being part and parcel of some of these institutions. And when they rank Nigeria good, Nigeria jumped to climb, they are happy. Thirdly, also, I want you to remember that ICPC had actually, conducted scorecard and found out that about 53 ministries and parastatals are on a higher risk of corruption. In other words, top ministries are found to are lacking integrity in their conduct. For example, Ministry of Justice, according to the ICPC report, it shows that they have serious integrity problem, and they are ranked as one of the agencies of government that is battling with also high risks of corruption. Again, National Bureau of Statistics with UNODC conducted a survey and showed the prevalence of corruption in the police, in many government agencies. So if you are an objective person, and especially for a government that wants to fight corruption, when Transparency International say that there are lapses in XYZ, all you need to do is to look at it and then see what you can do. I give you an example. Transparency International rank Britain, law. It rank Canada law. It rank Norway law. It rank United States of America law, Switzerland, and all these countries. None of them came like the way the Ministry of or some government, spokesperson in Nigeria have come to abuse and attack TI. In fact, as a matter of fact, when Transparency International rank America law, what the American government did was to say, okay, let us see where we have challenges and let's work with you to address that. To portray that, the International Anti-Corruption Conference took place in December in Washington, D.C. We were all there. Even some of Nigerian government officials were there. To do what? To look at how can we, or how can America and other countries in the world overcome their corruption cases. But in the case of Nigeria, each time this thing comes, despite the fact that Nigerians are going through all form of corruption, from the pure subsidy scam to the diversion of public funds, like you've seen how ICPC has been collecting funds misappropriated or diverted in the name of constituency project. Every day you wake up, you will see this high-profile scandal. Look at the Anthony Depoma Accountant General. Only in one case, over 30 billion was recovered from one person. ICPC again arrested 2 civil servants with 301 houses, possessed with illegal.
Mr. Rafsanjani, please, I'm sorry to cut you short. I mean, you said that there were 8 sources by which your agency does these rankings. Can you please just tell us what those sources are?
Okay, these are think tank agencies that are professionally and globally acknowledged as the best institutions to conduct public survey. For example, you have Bestman Foundation that look at that they have their own index that look at transformation. You have Economics Intelligence Unit country risks finding. They also carry out their own assessment. You have Global Insight country risk rating. You have PRS, International Country Risk Guide. You also have Varieties Democracy Project. You also have World Bank Country Policy and Institutional Assessment Rating. You also have World Economic Forum Executive Opinion Survey ranking. You also have World Justice Project Rule of Law Index, which they look at how judiciary function. These are the 8 sources that Transparency International use for Nigeria. And there are conditions for even using these sources. First, they must conduct similar survey at least, consecutively, for multiple of years. And that they have to also do this rating not only for Nigeria or for Africa, but multiple countries, so that there's a consistency before they are being taken. So all these measures are taken to make sure that whatever source Transparency International is using to look at what a country stands for must be tested, must be credible, must be acceptable, globally. So these are the 8 sources that they use. And sometimes they rate Nigeria good, and Nigerian government clap and be happy. Even Transparency International, when we rated Nigeria in 2016, when the President Muhammadu Buhari really body language showed that he wanted to fight corruption, I remember in the International Anti-Corruption Conference organized by Transparency International in London was the British government, where Muhammad Buhari had promised to ensure that the Nigeria is admitted as open government partnership. And he also promised to ensure that assets recovery will be done transparently. He also promised that beneficial ownership register will be opened. These are things that government has just pronounced. And suddenly, a lot of people believe that something is going to happen. Remember, we talk about perception. Now, in the last 10 years, if you look at the Transparency International Corruption Perception Index, in the last 10 years, it was only in 2016 that Nigeria rating was changed because of that perception that Nigerians have and the international community.
But it would seem like that's maybe just some form of tokenism, because before that and after that, I don't know if Nigeria has ever scored as high as 50. And going by what one of my colleagues said in the course of the week, I mean, you take an exam, you're supposed to score 100, and you're undulating between 25 and 30.
That's fail.
That's F9, or at best P8 or P7. No,
it can't be P.
I mean, I'm just saying, so that goes back to the question that I asked earlier. If you would say there's been any measure of improvement in the entire process, and what do you think has been lacking for governments or the ministries, departments, and agencies to do in order for this perception index to be a positive, sustainably, and a way of life for us?
Okay, like I mentioned to you, even without Transparency International, government-owned agencies have conducted this survey, and they have also brought in their own reports. ICPC has done that. Nigerian Bureau of Statistics have also done that, and the result is not also going in the direction that ought to go. But also, let me say that there are areas that I believe, if Nigerian government is committed, is serious, can help to improve our rating. There are reasons why Nigeria has not improved in this rating, for example. First and foremost, the pardon of politically exposed person has sent a very negative impression about how serious we are. Nigerian government spent a lot of money to investigate and try and jail some people. And when the government wanted to do this pardoning, they did not also do it on any fair or unjust, because there are some people who have committed less crime, but they were not pardoned. But in this case, because of political consideration, Nigeria decided to pardon some people. That has not really been good. Secondly, the corruption in the judicial sector, which made many Nigerians to even lose hope and confidence about access to justice in this country, continue to undermine how we can improve our own rating. Again, we have also seen that the huge amount of public resources going into so-called subsidy, which is a fraud. Like even the President Muhammadu Buhari, before he became the president, he had called it a fraud. And under his watch, we are spending, huge amount of our budget to finance this fraud, which Nigerians didn't see the pure. I was born and brought up in Kano. I grew up in Kano. Since when I grew up in Kano, every day it is in black market. People buy petrol. So we are even used to that in Kano. And many parts of the northern Nigeria, there's no petrol.
Can you say that again, Mr. Rafsanjani? Because I was sharing with my colleague earlier this morning when we were having the pre-program chat that my only trip to Maiduguri was one in which people were selling petrol just the way you described it. Can you say it again, and for how long has this been going on?
Yes, I'm saying that since when I grew up in Kano, the only thing that you will see in the name of petrol is black market, and people buy it in a very costly, exorbitant pay. Yet Nigeria is spending trillion in the name of subsidy, and a lot of experts.
For how long has this been going on?
This is a cartel. This is a business. This has been going for more than 25 years, almost 30 years. People in the north are used to this lifestyle of extortion and punishment, and yet we are spending trillion in the name of subsidy. Who is subsidizing who? When a lot of people, even you remember the former SBM governor, Sunusi, had mentioned how some people cleverly will say that they have brought in 15 ship of petrol. And in it, because some of the custom official who are supposed to also verify this, because custom is also responsible to ensure that whatever comes into this country, they also certify it. So who are the people that are clearing to say that out of 15 containers that come to the country, maybe perhaps only 3 or 4 contain the oil, and yet they are cleared and they are being paid by the Central Bank of Nigeria. So it is institutional fraud and corruption that has been going on. The third issue that I also want to mention, which is making us not to go really good in the rating. You see, the oil theft has reached a level that almost what government is earning as oil income is the oil theft is almost twice of it, and nobody has been investigated, nobody has been arrested. You cannot be fighting corruption when such kind of situation are happening. There's another form of fraud that is going on, which they call constituency project by some members of the National Assembly. A lot of billions have been sent, factored into that, and even the president has been raising concern over it. As I speak to you, ICPC and EFCC have been arresting so many people that are involved in this so-called constituency project fraud. This constituency fraud has no any legal framework. Some people will just sit down and say they want to XYZ in their constituency, no verification, no investigation, nothing. In some cases, they are even on the contractors, they are the owners of the company. In some cases, they connive with ministries or the prestator to do that. These are huge amount of money that if it has been put properly, it will have helped in terms of transforming the country. Again, you have a lot of lapses in some of the legal framework that we have. We have, for example, public procurement law. It is disregarded, abused, and not even followed, even by the legislators who have legislated on the public procurement law.
So just, Mr. Rafsanjani, these are very gory and very displeasing, distressing, understanding that you're giving Nigerians now. And I'm almost certain that some of the people who work in these ministries, departments, and agencies are watching this program right now. Some of them are crying. Some of them they don't know what to do anymore. They are as frustrated as every Nigerian is. So are you saying then that it's such a hopeless situation that no one can do anything about? Because if this continues, things can only get worse. Last year, we scored 24 out of 100 points. This year, this current perception index gives us exactly the same thing, 24 out of 100, even though we have moved up like 4 steps on the rank. Who is supposed to do what? We have ICPC, we have EFCC, we have these organizations that are supposed to monitor and checkmate these corruption practices. We have the police, whose primary responsibility it was in the first place, because there are those who would point to the fact that ICPC and EFCC were supposed to be functions of the police which were not being done. So who is supposed to do what to ensure that these corrupt practices do not continue?
Thank you very much. I think this is durable. And as I speak to you, part of the reason why the ranking and the position, that's the position remains 24 out of 100, is simply because of some positive steps that government have taken. I give you, for example, the electoral reform that the government successfully, with effort of civil society for, which will help to ensure more transparency, more credibility in the electoral process, has sent a very positive signal. Secondly, we have also seen the passage of certain legal framework, like, for example, the passage of the proceed of crime and management of asset. You remember, Nigeria will recover asset, including money, jewelries, gold, houses, estate, and there will not be any accountability on where those things are. In other words, they will disappear. Another set of looters will loot. But government, through the advocacy of civil society, were able to get government to get this new legal framework, which hopefully, if implemented, will also change the corruption situation in Nigeria. Thirdly, Nigeria has been suffering from money laundering. We are losing over 20 billion US dollars annually for illicit financial outflow. Now, civil society advocated and advised government to have a legal framework that will prevent looters from conniving with bankers and other financial institutions to be siphoning this money out. Now, government was able to have anti-money laundering and prohibition act. If implemented, it will also change the perception and the narrative of corruption situation. Again, we have also seen the improvement or the effort of the various anti-corruption agencies. For example, SEPC is out there doing a lot of amazing work. The same thing with EFCC. The same thing with Code of Conduct. These are good development that has actually helped the country to even not decline again. Because if we have not seen these visible changes, I am telling you the 24 score you see, it will have been worse. But because of this, intention of government to show seriousness by making sure that we have a legal framework that will prevent further looting and destruction of Nigeria, we are able to maintain that position 24. Now, let me come back to the ranking, which some people misunderstood as maybe as important or more important than the scoring. The scoring is the most important one. The ranking is not exclusively independent of what a country has done well or bad. It is simply because other countries, they either perform good or they perform bad. So if they go up or they go down, the country ranking will shift. Okay? So yes. The ranking is not what Nigerians should be celebrating. What Nigerian government should be celebrating is the score. The score, is the most important thing in Transparency International Corruption Perception Index. So I think it's better that we understand that very well. Sometimes people have this misunderstanding. So it's not something that you should be jubilating. It is just this whole issue that I mentioned to you now, the new legal framework and the determination of EFCC, ICPC, and conduct to continue to do this at the risk of even their life, because they sacrifice their life, they pursue, politically exposed person, and at the end of the day, after they conclude the cases and the court maybe jail them and they get pardoned. Now, these people have not even life insurance. They are doing their best, but because of political interferences, because of political control and manipulation, their life is even put at risk. So we need to understand that the situation, the fight against corruption in Nigeria is not about propaganda. It's about having system, strengthening institutions that whether Buhari is there or is not there, the fight against corruption will continue. Secondly, I want to also...
Mr. Rafsanjani, we're running out of time, and I want you to quickly address this. Is TI solely to do the ranking of the countries, or is it also in a position to dialogue with countries regarding corruption?
This is why I'm saying that TI has nothing to do with having any dialogue with anybody, over ranking, because what they did was they will just take these sources. I mean, these are all there. If you Google, you just go to the internet and see what is Nigerian rating on terrorism, globally. What is the rating of Nigeria on press freedom globally? These are things that are out there. So it is not any magic. It is not anything that is difficult to find. When you check the website, you will see what is the rating of Nigeria on judiciary. you will see. So all that Transparency International does is to put together these sources, which is believed to be credible, that is believed to be acceptable globally and tested. So all that Transparency International does is just simply to put all these in place and come up with this ranking. So it's not like sitting down on its own to come and do this thing. No. So the only dialogue that can happen is what we have done. For example, during Obasanjo, Transparency International work with the government to ensure that we have public procurement law. Okay? And this government that is supposed to be fighting corruption, the ministers are not in line with, some of the ministers are not in the fight against corruption. Local government chairmen, state governors, and legislature, judiciary, the executive, all of them, state, local government, and federal must come together and work to fight corruption. It is not about somebody sitting down there or thinking that it is only EFCC or SCPC or code of conduct that will do the fight against corruption. No. For any serious government that wants to fight corruption, it must have all hands in decks. There's no way you have about 20 or 21 governors as a ruling party, and their governors are not even part of any anti-corruption work. There's no way your ministers and director generals and several DGs who are in your team are perpetuating corruption, and you think that all is well.
Okay.
Because it has to be completely...
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Awal Rafsanjani, Executive Director, Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, CISLAC, who joined us via Zoom from New York. Thank you very much. It's important to note that this is just a corruption perception index.
Not measurement.
It's a perception. Thank you very much, Mr. Rafsanjani.
By the way, thank you for making that sacrifice. Must be something close to 4 a.m. where you are now. Appreciate the sacrifice.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll be right back with another interesting conversation in just a moment. Do remain with us.
Well, thank you for staying with us. In the last 1 week, we've had vehicles that claimed several lives in Lagos State. On Monday, the 31st of January, 8 people were crushed to death, some say 9, by a 20-feet container that fell on a truck at Ujuelegba. Barely 24 hours after that, a 40-feet container fell off another truck in the Dokpemo area of the state, causing huge traffic on the road. That same week, a fatal accident involving a tanker and 4 tricycles claimed the lives of 2 people in the Ikoton area of Lagos. Of course, operatives of LASMA, the Lagos State Transport Management Authority, rescued 4 victims inside the tricycles, while one of the tricycles drivers and another passenger died instantly. Also, February the 1st, the 20-feet container crushed a commercial bus in the Oshode area of Lagos State, injuring a commercial bus driver. Too early in the year, right? What have we left undone? We haven't had this succession for so long. Why now? Let's have this conversation with Mr. Segun Ogungwemide, who is the FRSC Sector Commander in Lagos State. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
As my colleague said the other time, well done. It's a lot of work. You can't have your eyes everywhere at the same time, but this hasn't happened in a while.
Yeah.
There are those who would say...
Such quick succession.
Yes. There are those who would say we dropped the ball at some point. What are your thoughts?
Thank you very much. We're more worried than even Nigerian citizens as an establishment, given the responsibility to manage the affairs of traffic in a nation like ours. And in line with your observation, I think for a long while, we've not really had such incidents, which happen to be the products of the various policies that we put in place. And you also agree with me that at the end of the year, rounding up, we had a lot of success as regards traffic crashes, ease movement, and I want to believe that is just an unfortunate coincidence that this thing happened at the beginning of the year. And when you look at the scenario of the various crashes that occurred, right from the one that claimed 9 lives to the one that fell at Dokpemu, and to the other ones that crushed some victims. We cannot, because the accusing fingers has always been on the people that are given the responsibilities and governments. But as long as we continue to point accusing fingers at some establishment or agencies, we might not be able to get it right. We've come to live with the idea of falling containers. This is what Federal Road Safety Corps has battled since I came on board. I came in 2020, and I recall there was a particular week, a special patrol, where we had to arrest close to 800 vehicles along Lagos-Ibadan corridor. That's covering about 3 states, all in the name of mopping up these terrible offenders. And since then, it has sent a lot of signals to them. The one we call falling containers are falling trucks. When you say falling containers, is the truck still standing intact and the container is rolled off. That's what we've succeeded in managing over the years. But this time around, what you like, the one that claimed 9 lives, this container was still attached to the truck. It's the truck that fell.
But
Why are trucks falling?
Yes. The one that happened at Dokpemu, if you have a vivid picture of the video, is still the truck that fell along with the container. The container didn't roll off. And that's what we have succeeded, because in the past, the impact of the container rolling off the truck has more damaging effects than, because virtually every night you see this incident, but we are always lucky you hear no life lost, because it's not thrown on other vehicles. You ask, where are the containers even, or why are the truck even falling?
Yes.
The incident of Ujuelegba, in the preliminary investigation we had was outrightly human error. Because a Camry was trying to overtake that truck, and in the course of trying to maneuver, it lost control, fell, and unfortunately, this other bus was there by the side. So it has to be an all-encompassing approach. What is the role of the driver that is driving the truck? What is the psychological stability of that same driver that is behind that steering? What is the status of the road? Because when you look at the road where these crashes occur, unlike our impression in the past, the roads are smooth. Well, there are no potholes.
Just a second, Mr. Mwimde, to cite the example, just to make an example of what happened in Ojelegba. I can't even bring myself to imagine what the families of those who lost loved ones are going through right now.
Yes.
But then it would seem like, as you mentioned, the driver has a huge responsibility here. And unfortunately, sometimes the passengers have little or nothing to say about it.
Right.
Case in point, sometimes one of the issues that and I think we've talked about this once before, where these drivers use places that are not designated bus stops.
You're right.
They park before bus stops, they park outside of bus stops, and they park in places that are not supposed to be at.
Right.
And as a result of that, these kinds of things that you're talking about, for instance, I couldn't have imagined that the bus, the truck, for instance, would have driven to the bus stop.
Exactly.
Would have. I don't think that's what happened in this case. So How do we mitigate that so that there is no indiscriminate behavior by drivers?
Thank you very much that you are coming up with this. Because I think this is a season of truth that we need to really be, blunt in expressing our feelings when we see something damaging. Because I do tell my staff, I said, it could have been anybody. It could have been you in that bus. So that's the passion towards the approach we give to our responsibilities. I need to say this. The average Lagosian also has a role to play in this. Because when we derive pleasure from killing the strength of our agencies, these are the things we suffer. At every point, you will recall every effort for FRSC to institute enforcement within the township. What is the slogan? Go to the highway. What is Federal Safety Corps doing in township? Move to the highway. That bus that was crushed that day, if my men had gotten to that spot to enforce the arrest of that bus, I imagine the number of road users that will have, especially because of this issue of gridlock in Lagos. Enforcement in town becomes a challenge. It becomes the citizen versus the agencies. You now see somebody telling you, and what do? They blackmail you. Because you want to collect 50 naira from the man, allow him to go. If we had been so strict, if we are, join forces together in tackling this menace, it's not just about pushing blames on the agencies. What is your own role? There was a time we wanted to start management on Third Mainland Bridge. The one we expected would take us about 6 months. And there will be alternative routes. And I said, okay, let us mop up rickety trucks from the town so that they will not break down on the alternative routes and create problem for us. I arrested about 29 tankers that day. And before the end of that enforcement, I could not continue because of the backlash of reports that were coming in. Your men were creating problems on the road. Enforcement is not rocket science. It's a sacrifice that all of us must endure, and for the sanity that we expect on our roads. Okay. And that is what we should understand. It doesn't take us anything to do enforcement within the township, but the reactions of members of the public is also discouraging the men too.
Now, perhaps something that could help would be collaboration with other sister agencies, yes, perhaps particularly within the states. I know that there is such a thing as Federal Highway Patrol. Yes. I know that the Lagos State has LASTMA, yes, and as so many other states have traffic management authorities all over the nation. I know that the police in Lagos has a traffic unit.
You're right.
So is there any way that collaboration with these agencies could also help? Because I imagine that if all 4 agencies show up at a particular point, perhaps that could let the people know that, look, if we don't do this, it's going to backlash, there's going to be a backlash on the people that don't understand what is going on here.
We have. Even in the last few days now, I've been operating with VIS as regards arrest of vehicle trailers that are not lashed. And I think to date, we've been able to arrest about 15 of them that are not lashed. If we could have this incident that happened on Sunday that's created a much uproar, and we still have road users that could still have the guts to put their trucks on the road without being lashed, you should know that there's something fundamentally wrong with our people. We've been able to arrest close to 15. That's all over Lagos. So where are these problems coming from?
Could it also be a function of awareness? I'm sorry, that sounds like making a case for the people, but if people do not know, and the awareness isn't sufficient enough to educate them and know, so that they know the consequences of the actions or inactions, perhaps that could also...
well, the action and the reaction is, the one you just mentioned is what I think has been missed out. If anybody knows that there's always a consequence for the action or inaction, I think we'll all sit up. Like the man that just brought about the death of these 9 people. In the past, maybe it will have been business as usual. Maybe he will have just moved his vehicle and the dead will go and bury their dead. But by the time he's through with this prosecution and is found guilty, it will send a signal to the other road users to know that when you hear and you are caught and you face the music, every other person will pay. You've noticed that the rate of assault on my men has drastically reduced because in the past they've done it and nothing happened. But because we have prosecuted so many, and there are so many that are in jail or already sentenced, it has sent signal to their members that don't near FRSC. The same thing is also translating to the area of enforcement. Now you see the directive given by Mr. Governor that that particular vehicle owner and the driver must be prosecuted, but not like that in the past. And that is where we stand now.
Mr.
Yes.
We have to be made aware of this prosecution.
Yes.
The whole case has to be in our faces.
I understand.
So that we all know that this is happening, so that those who are thinking of doing it will see what is happening to this guy. So, and they will know that this is a no-no. You can't do this anymore.
A lot of advocacy had been given to the directive of Mr. Governor. And you know the process of justice is a different ball game. And I know as the process goes on, people are monitoring the outcome.
It is slow.
Yes, and we are monitoring it and we are giving the advocacy. We've given enough advocacy as regards the issue of twist locking and lashing. And where we are missing it, lashing is not the rope that you see. That rope cannot hold a container. And that's where many of us feel the law enforcement agencies have not done enough. Lashing, the rope is for open cargo. It's not for container. It's for, you see these trucks that carry pipe, carry generator. That's what we use the rope for. The twist locking is the one that holds the container. And we've gone extra mile to check.
So there's some holes on the container and on the truck.
Yes.
So you need to hook them together.
And it's mechanical. It's not something you do manually. It's mechanical. So when they say they go out of the port to transload, I wonder what is happening. I wonder the technology they have says in other bonded terminals to get this one done. Because we have MOU with MPA. That's why I said we don't point fingers at the wrong direction. We have MOU with NTA on minimum safety standard that before any vehicle transacts with MPA, it must meet up with the minimum safety standard. The MOU is still running. And before you can leave the port, you must be twist locked. What we had in the past was that they feel they are not insured as drivers. So when the vehicle is about to fall, they would rather throw the container off and protect themselves rather than getting killed and there's no compensation for them. But we said, how will you feel when you get other people killed just to protect yourself? And we stand on this idea that there is no business that is so important that you need to sacrifice another man's life. That's the vision we had towards tankers. And you agree with me that the incidents involving tankers has reduced drastically because of our relationship with the various depots. We have all our men stationed all over the depots in Lagos that before you move out, you have to meet up with the standard.
Once upon a time, trucks and tankers were not allowed on flyovers within Lagos.
Yes.
Does that still hold?
It's still very much. When you say
was it a law or what?
I think the roads are constructed to elevate the pains of road users. And with the exception of Third Mainland Bridge, where I know there's specific categories of trucks that are allowed to ply the Third Mainland Bridge, I'm not aware of any other law that restricts movement of trucks. The law that we know exists is that no trucks is allowed to station on bridges. The bridge is a passage. So when the bridge is constructed and they said it's open, that every other vehicle should be able to move. The Ikorodu-Ojuelegba has this incident. That bridge is meant for passage. And there's no barrier.
Trucks and all.
Trucks, every vehicles are.
Some
But
flyovers have barriers.
I got to know from the state that the initial construction of that road is not for articulated vehicles. But because there were problems at the Apapa axis, that's why they saw this one as a leverage and they started applying it. And Lagos has decided that they have to reverse this trend. And you recall that the Corps Marshal also in his own remark as a result of that incident said bridges that we feel are not comfortable for trucks to ply should be placed with barriers. And that's where we stand now.
Well, Ojuelegba is becoming quite notorious now for trucks and containers falling off them. So are there going to be barriers on Ojuelegba flyover?
The deliberation is on. We've been having a series of meetings because policies is not just one-sided. You also look at the advantage, the pros and cons. Every policy. So before you take the decision, they have to weigh it. What is the implication of? Because even with the barrier, you know, his own crisis will also come up. At night, someone that is drunk can run into. We've seen series of. So we have to. Government will weigh it. They've been interacting with various stakeholders on the right decision to take. And eventually, by the time the decision is taken, I know it will be for the betterment of everybody.
Okay. The issue of vehicles that are not supposed to be plying the roads, that's another issue that constitutes a danger to the general populace. We see trucks, some of them don't have, the tires are all bald. We see public transport buses with no screens at the back. They have taped nylon, you know, on them. But if one checks properly, those vehicles have been approved to ply the roads. They have roadworthiness certificates. And then, not to talk of those that are just spewing monoxide, you know, what people call smoky joes on the roads. They're all plying the roads, and they're causing health hazards to people.
Yes, you agree with me. There's evolution in the entire thing now. I think Lagos has introduced the latest instruments of technology where you have to be physically present at the various lasgri to get tested. And there was a time we complained that the bulk of vehicles were seen around our private vehicles and that we should put more enforcement on commercial. I think what we notice now is the fallout from the NSAS. All the vehicles that have been taken off the road, but because there was a gap, we see thousands of people lining up at the bus stop before the intervention of Mr. Governor. And all these vehicles that have been kept at panel beaters, waiting to be dismantled, came back to fill in the gap. And we are being sensitive too. I have more than 75,000 arrests here for 2023.
2023?
Sorry, 2022. 2020.
75,000.
Yes, 2021 was 59. That means our enforcement increased. And I used to tell people that 75,000 arrests is an indication that we have saved about 75,000 people from getting involved in crashes. Because the indices of the crashes are what we try to capture. That's why I always insist, don't stop me from operating within the town. Because within the town, when crashes occur, fatality is hardly recorded. But when they hit the highway with the speed and they still have the same infraction, it's more devastating. So it's an indication that we are not just folding our arms. And this 75,000 figure I gave you, more than 60% of them are commercial. Agree with me, ma. Lagos is huge. The traffic volume is enormous. I just told you now that 18,000 trucks are already confirmed to be registered under MPA Eto platform. 18,000. And last year alone, we arrested more than 6,000. So it's not that, there are always newcomers, just like church now. Every Sunday they say those that are coming for the first time, there's no Sunday you don't see newcomers coming to the church. The same thing with the transportation sector. We have newcomers, and that's why every day we give publicity, we give advocacy, we increase our enforcement. Yoruba day says, exactly. As long as you said you won't stop, the crisis will continue to do our enforcement. The only thing we need is cooperation of members of the public. Encourage us, support us. You see somebody going against the traffic, and you see law enforcement agencies trying to correct him or sanction him. But you see attacks from every angle.
But while that is, a reality and it's not a good thing, over time, and which is why I talked about awareness the other time, over time, the people, authority, trust quotient has greatly dissipated.
Yes.
Now, that is what we need to build back. Getting that, back on track, I think that's a huge challenge, because over time, people have lost confidence in governments all over the world, Nigeria no less. So whenever you see anyone wearing a uniform, as far as the person is wearing a uniform, the assumption is this guy is against us, forgetting that he is a fellow Nigerian, forgetting that he is a fellow Lagosian. So what's the process, or what's the plan of building back that trust, so that the average Lagosian or Nigerian will be able to recognize that, look, I'm not against you, I'm actually one of you?
I think you should judge it from the point of implication of not bringing back the trust from members of the public. Destroying this institution will affect the members of the public more. You just spoke about your experience coming in this morning. Assuming there's no security or traffic agencies on ground to manage the situation, assuming they've reacted too because there's no trust, how will you feel? We just talked about the Lagos-Ibadan corridor in terms of security. The presence of a single police vehicle builds your confidence that there's security. We should judge from that angle. No matter what you feel about them all these years, still give the benefit of doubt that there are better ones among them. The challenge is we cannot, because the truth is, if we continue to dwell...
I'm not making excuse, just to be clear. I'm not making excuse for the people.
I understand.
Because there are those, okay, for instance, I'm just learning now that now where police chase cars, last mile chase cars, your men are also said to be chasing cars.
Yeah, you are not too sure.
Well, I'm telling you reports. I mean, I haven't seen it, but we work with reports.
Yes.
So if such a thing happens, for instance, what's the assurance anyone has that no, this
okay,
man is
when
not
you talk
here
of okay, you just
I know it's your place to defend your men.
I'm not. I don't. No.
I'm just saying.
That's natural.
I'm just saying.
No. Just take that impression from you.
Okay.
In FRSC, we don't compromise irresponsibilities from our men. We don't accept it. All the procedures, administrative procedures, are on ground to tackle it. That's why I said people should stop condemning agencies on social media. We have administrative process. You know my office. There was an incident that happened sometimes when a tanker was falling, and somebody picks it in the social media and started singing at the background, this one now, wow. Will it stop that vehicle from crashing and causing damages? Why not pick that video and send to the appropriate quarters and put a footnote where it will call the time and for actions to be taken? That is. I can speak for FRSC now.
Good.
You understand? And we have a policy in FRSC. By virtue of the technology of our database that is quite robust, do not pursue a vehicle. Get the number. I've mentioned this in so many scenarios here. I call people that misbehave on the road, and they were wondering how I got their phone numbers. It's stated in your information base. I know your house by virtue of the registration procedure, and that is the essence.
So if an FRSC official chases a vehicle, is out of line?
It's out of line. I'm saying it here authoritatively. Mandatorily, you are not allowed to chase. You know, at times we mistake two things. I can follow you to get your number, but I'm not allowed to pursue you to arrest you. Because that was where we started from. We call it traditional approach to enforcement, where you recall in those days, you enter bush, we enter bush with you. And we realized that rather than saving life, we are creating more damages. There's been a lot of evolution and transformation. So this time around, that's why we built our database. When you hear, we get your details.
Your car number
we get, the moment we get your car number, that's the only thing that I need. By the time I punch it, all the information about you comes out. So if you see any of my, I've received reports. And when minority commits, you know, your guess is as good as mine. So we cannot stand what would damage the image of the system. And we know, like you said, the trust is there. Every day we give orientation to our boys. We've tried, we call ourselves Elite Corps, and we have to live by that. So every day we go out, we give them...
Elite Corps.
Yeah, before you move out, we have what we call pre-patrol briefing. The image of the Corps is important. Whatever you do that will bring back a backlash to us and damage our image, you have to pay for it.
Okay, I don't know how many minutes we'll have, but so in that light, at the risk of you patronizing, of being patronizing, what is the welfare package for your men like to help them not be tempted to collect? If you understand what I mean.
Yes, bribe, straight word. Straight word. When we want to package it, we say not to compromise. But the straight word is not to collect bribe. Mr. President has spent how many years now? 7 years.
Going to 8 years.
Going to 8 years. At least I've been privileged to be part and parcel of the system. No single month has FRSA been hold a salary. I'm repeating it. No single month was our salaries delayed in the last 7, 8 years.
His question is...
I know what I'm going to. You talk about welfare. Right. The first line of responsibility of government to its staff is salaries. So as long as you have your salary being paid, you have your allowances being paid, you have your promotion being given to you at the due time, FRSA does not have problem with welfare. Anybody that you see out there that you see compromising and there's no feedback syndrome in FRSA, there's no return syndrome in FRSA. He's not collecting the money on my behalf
of Oga.
He's collecting the money on behalf of himself.
On his own behalf.
And I've said this severally to members of the public, and many have reported. And many are undergoing trials. They are dismissed, they are terminated, their ranks are reduced and kept on the same stage. And it's an indication that he's sending signals to others that, I know, life is about trial. If you try, you win, your money stays in your pocket. But the day it fails, and look at it, a career job, you're because of 1,000 naira at the moment and lose a career job. If I didn't go through this process, I won't be here today. So many of my colleagues have gone, and I know where they are today. So it's something you need to, I know the town is not smiling.
No.
You understand? But at the same time, we operate in line. I was not sector commander Lagos a few years back. The paraphernalia of office that I enjoy today was not there, but I work in line with what I had. You understand? And that's what we should. So for us, it's no-go area.
Mr. Ogunbemide, even if I am receiving my salary regularly,
yes,
as and when due, if that salary is only 30,000 naira a month, I'm not going to smile.
Yes.
I'm going to look for other ways to meet my needs.
And look for a legitimate way.
I'll be tempted.
You look for a legitimate way.
Which legitimate way can I possibly...
I used to say one thing. If your system says they don't want a thing, you have an option. It's either you stay or you leave for a better...
Stay and abide by the law.
Abide by the law, and you have the option of leaving. This thing, I'm not just saying it because I'm better off now. I was in their shoes too. but I managed through till I got to this stage.
Well, what is interesting, Mr. Ogungbemide, is that the economy at the time you were going through it is different now.
It's not different.
A bag of rice is 45,000 now.
I saw a music that was being played recently. That was how many years back?
That's older than food, you know.
Yeah, but
well, I wonder if well, you didn't grow up looking for Naira notes, Mr. Ogungbemide. I wonder if you'll be distributing some to your men. Don't answer that question. Segun Ogungbemide is Federal Road Safety Command Corps Sector Commander in Lagos State. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All the best all the time.
I appreciate
everything.
Thank you.
After this break, we take on another one. We've just spoken about the road police. How about the police itself? After now.
Thank you for staying with us. Now we're going to be looking at what we both regarded as quite unusual at the beginning of the program,
which is something that is a popular, conversation anyway. Who polices the police?
Policing the police force. That seems to be a big job. Well, someone has some ideas as to how that can be done. Chief Simon Okeke, OFR, FRICS, FNIVS, LLD, honoris causa. Barely a month ago, Chief Simon Okeke celebrated his 87th birthday. He's a thoroughbred professional and a pioneer and pillar in Nigeria's real estate industry. He was the first indigenous chairman and chief executive of the multinational real estate management giant Knight, Frank, and Rotley, Nigeria. Also, he's an elder statesman who has worked passionately for the enthronement of justice and equity in Nigeria. Please welcome Chief Simon Nsabundu Okeke. Good morning, Chief.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us this morning. Well, it's not too late to say happy birthday to you, is it?
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you for joining us this morning. Now, to mark your birthday, you launched that book, which I have seen in your hand, even though you're not holding it right now. Policing the Police. Oh, before we talk about the book, let me just say that in 1999, you were appointed the chairman of the Police Service Commission, where you served for about 5-6 years. Hence...
No, before I go on to that, let me express my profound gratitude to the management and of the television for inviting me to interact with you. I'm really very grateful and
you're welcome, Chief.
Now, actually, the commission which I chaired was appointed 28th of November 2001, not 1999, and it was for 5 years, ended November 27, 2006. That's precisely what it is.
Mm-hmm. Okay, hence your insight into the workings of the police force, because you are actually an estate surveyor.
Yes, indeed. I mean, that's what I trained to do, and that's what I did all my life until I retired in 1992.
Okay.
Having chaired night, Frank Arotli, as you rightly expressed.
Okay.
So my profession, my life has always been on the economy of land economy.
Okay.
And well, I'm not here for that, but that is what I'm known for over the years. It was when I retired that I was found fit to chair the Police Service Commission by the then President, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, and his team to appoint me to chair the commission, for which I'm grateful for them. Thank you.
So, Chief, the material which you use for this book, which I suppose is going to be a very useful piece of a resource material for policing the police, you know, did you garner it from those 5 years that you were chairman of the commission?
Yes, indeed. It was for the 5 years when I came to understudy the police and did my best with my team to reposition the police from what it was to what we thought it should be and what we hoped it would be. By studying the police and also going around the world to know how the other countries' police function. That's how it came about.
What made you decide to write this book?
What is it?
What made you decide to write this book?
Oh, well, I decided to write it because if I don't put down what we gathered over the period of the time we were there, and how we thought it should be done, and how we did what we did, it will be very easily forgotten with passage of time, because the mind is too quick to forget. But if you put down certain materials you think are valuable for posterity, it will remain forever. If I hadn't put it down, there's no way to judge the commission that I led, what we did, how we did it, whether we did it well or not. It is when you read through it that you know what we did, have we done it, or did we try to do it the way we are required to do it under the powers given to us as provided by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. If I hadn't put it down, there's no way one can judge us. There's no way to judge us. Well, so it is good that I put it down for the world, Nigeria and the world, to read through and see what is there, what we have done. Have we done it the way it should be done? If we hadn't done it the way it should be, it would have been done. Why was it not done the way it is done? It is supposed to be done. That is my principal motive for putting it down, so that people will judge us, and also people will learn from our mistakes or from other people's mistakes that prevented us from doing what we should do the way it is required, or reposition the police the way it is supposed to be repositioned.
Well, at the risk of asking for spoilers, Chief, natural question what we want to ask is, what are some of those experiences that you had to adjust to? As my colleague said, You are a trained estate surveyor and valuer assigned to police, so to speak, assigned to head the Police Service Commission. Must have been some kind of shock to the system, so to speak. What were the findings? How easy was it for you to maneuver or segue into that role and be able to play it as creditably?
Well, the first thing we did, or I did, was to ask the question, the police in Nigeria, is it what Nigeria wants it to, is it doing what Nigeria wants it to do? If it is not, why is it so? How does it compare with the other countries' police? Why is it that Nigerian police in Nigeria is not very much appreciated, but when it goes out, when they go out for other countries, either for posted out to work in defense of other countries that had some problem, they very much they do so very well and are so highly commended by the country's government where they served. But in Nigeria, why is it that they are not so much appreciated? So we were able to find out why. Number one, the police in Nigeria have been so discredited because of mounting checkpoints and collecting money here and there, instead of doing what they are supposed to be doing. Why is it so? We found that Nigeria police is the least paid, the least remunerated. The welfare is so poor. In fact, the least paid in West Africa and in Africa. And one would say, the world, I have not seen any police anywhere that is so poorly remunerated as in Nigeria. And they go to the same market. The wives go to the same market to buy things like other people who are better remunerated. And if they are not properly taken care of, they think of taking care of themselves. That is why. Mm-hmm. Let me tell you, many police die in action. And the grim part of it is that when a police dies in action, what the package that goes to the next of kin can barely cover the cost of the coffin, the cost of transporting the coffin to the home of the deceased. That will tell you what Nigeria police is facing. It's really terrible. So we were able to press for improvement of their condition. To some extent, we succeeded a little bit before we left. But even till today, it is not what we thought it should be.
Well, it goes to this exact same question.
Good and bad people everywhere. So it is in the police. Mm. I can assure you, Nigeria police has got some brilliant officers, but they are so played down because of the general public opinion about the poor image of the police.
Well,
But
Chief,
I'll
it
show
would...
you, there are many good,
Yeah,
there
my
are many
sincere
good
apologies.
ones.
My sincere apologies for butting in. I mean, it goes to only one thing. For instance, the question I was going to ask at some point was, it's been almost 20 years since you left the PSC. What are your readings about whatever progress is being made now, especially about this welfare angle of the police that we're talking about?
I'm afraid I'm not sure that much has been done towards improvement of their situation. Going by what I hear, I wouldn't say what I know, but what I hear, a great deal has to be done. I mean, how do you expect, even to today, some police, a good number of police officers still buy their uniform, buy their shoes, their dresses, and everything. Sometimes they are paid whatever they receive as and when due, but not all the time. I do hear that there are still some delays in payment of their remunerations, leading to them doing what they are not expected to do. So a lot has been done, no doubt, but much more has to be done by way of improving their welfare.
But Chief, you left the commission in 2006, and in 2020,
Yes.
if you recall, there was that End SARS matter, which was talking about ending police brutality, as well as talking about improving the lot of the Nigerian police, which means that what you fought for or what you recommended when you were in the commission couldn't have done much for the policemen if this was coming up 14 years later.
Well, I agree with you. It might look as well. It looks like that. You see, my vision of the police is the police should be a friend of the people. A police should be where people are confronted with some security problem they run to. But Nigeria police unfortunately has not quite attained that level. Instead of running to the police when there's problem, you run away from the police when there's problem. When, for instance, somebody knocks at your door and you open the door and you see the police, your immediate reaction is, they have come up. You find a way to run away. But it shouldn't be so. So that mentality of force by which the Nigerian police inherited from the colonial masters. For instance, take note, it is called Nigeria Police Force, which is wrong. It should not be so. It should be Nigeria Police Service rather than Nigeria Police Force. It is force because the colonial masters established the police to protect the colonial masters and give them security, like the military, which the military does for external forces. And so it should not be so. Police should be people-oriented rather than frightening people away. It should not be so. It is wrong. So NSAS arose because of the various parts of ill treatment that people receive from the police. So I agree with you, it should not be so. It is not what we thought. That is not what we planned and worked for during the 5 years of our term in the police. Why is it so? Maybe certain regulations, certain systems we put down to transform the police to be people-oriented, to be service-oriented, have not been followed as it should. Hasn't been properly followed up. We are still looking forward that there should be an improvement.
Okay. Well, we're still all praying for an improvement, Chief. So, Chief, according to you in your book now, who should be policing the police? Who have you recommended to police the police?
Well, in fact, that question you asked me has taken one chapter in the book. During the Police Service Commission was established by the Nigeria Independence Act, Constitution of 1960, that provided for Police Service Commission. And their functions, their duties were duties and powers properly and clearly specified in the 1960 Constitution. Now, they were to recruit, that is to employ all people in Nigeria police. The original intention, all people in Nigeria police, from constable and to appoint, to dismiss and exercise disciplinary control over all in Nigerian police, from constable to Inspector General of Police, until the Constitution of 1980, when the function of the Commission as regards appointment of Inspector General of Police was removed from the Police Service Commission and given to the President of the country. So, the Commission has been doing the appointment, dismissal, disciplinary, even till today. But as to your question, as to who is to chair it, right from the independence period, 1960, until the commission was completely disbanded by the military, it has always been chaired by a credible somebody of high repute. That has been the case. When the democracy came back, 1999, I was appointed to chair it, and for 5 years, 2006, November 27, we vacated. Since then, till today, the commission have been chaired by a retired police boss, top, either DIG or IG, till now. Your question, who is to chair it? It is to be chaired, ideally, as recommended by the colonial masters, by a credible civilian. And this action has not, this system has been followed since I left. Whether it is right or wrong, well, it depends on how you look at it. But I believe, and from my discussions in various at different levels of people, and from different what happens in other countries, it is not advisable that a retired police will chair the police or will chair the Police Service Commission, that is, police overseeing police. But if, having said this, if there happen to be a retired police officer who has been adjudged by the world to be of such a level that if he chairs the police, he will not chair it with baggage of prejudices of which the police have amongst them within themselves, carrying the same thing over when he becomes the boss of the police. If there's such a person, okay, maybe. Otherwise, ideally go for an independent, non-military or paramilitary person of renowned personality to chair the police.
Well, you know, that question, yeah, that question of who polices the police is an unending one, you know, because from your experience now, it would seem like that was the origin of the Police Service Commission being at variance with the Inspector General of Police from time to time. Where do you see the middle ground being where the Police Service Commission and the IG and invariably the entire police system are on the same page with the Police Service Commission, both of them together?
Well, there hasn't been, hitherto, they haven't been together. And one can ask, why is it so? I think, by and large, it's because the police boss, whoever is police boss, has, sees himself as the alpha and omega because of the number of years of the military being in charge of Nigerian governance. Anytime there's military takeover, the police suffers. Because, well, maybe because the police is afraid of having any alternative force somewhere within the country. So the police invariably suffers very much. So it is only the CNC and the IG that oversee the police. And CNC, as Commander-in-Chief, is so concerned with the affairs of the nation that not much attention will be devoted to overseeing the intricacies of management of the police. Therefore, it is entirely left to the Inspector General of Police, whoever is the Inspector General of Police, to perform the functions of recruitment, employment, dismissals, and exercise of disciplinary control of the police.
I thought
which
that,
is the
Chief,
function.
I thought that was the function.
Entire commission.
Yes.
Should have done.
Exactly.
Therefore.
So what then would be the role of the PSC if the IG is performing all those functions?
No, that is. Remember what I said. This happens when there is a coup, when there is a military in position. That is, and because the military has been in position for many years before, the IG had always been in control, managing doing what the commission has been doing, because the commission dissolved, they are suspended for many years until November 2001, when the commission came on board again. And when the commission came on board, whoever is the Inspector General of Police, takes it as an intrusion into his powers. Why should the commission be there? Why should they do what they have been doing? So invariably, it finds it difficult to work harmoniously with the Police Service Commission that now is by law, by the Constitution, given the powers to recruit, to train, and to promote, to dismiss, and do other disciplinary control of the police, which hitherto had been under the control of the IG. So the IG does not want to see the commission doing what previous IGs used to do.
Okay.
By default. By default. You see? So that is why there has always been a friction between whoever is the IG and the Police Service Commission. But it should not be so, because this is clearly defined. Powers of the commission are clearly defined. It should not be in conflict with the operational control of the police, which is the function of the IG. You see, take for instance in the issue of appointment of commissioners of police in different states of the country. The Constitution made it very clear that there shall be a commissioner of police for each state of the country, who should be appointed by the Police Service Commission, not by any other person. But invariably, you find that the contention, this is one of the sections that whoever is the Inspector General of Police will not be, find it difficult to, the pill that he found difficult to swallow. Why should somebody else identify, appoint somebody, the Commissioner of Police in a state? This is what I should do. But the commission, if it is an error, it is an error committed by the commission, I mean by the Constitution, not by the commission. And I must say, not by the IG either. But it is clearly spelled out who should do what. Now, But you find, during the period of my headship of the chairmanship of the commission, you find that me as the chairman and other members of the commission, we read about so and so being appointed to be as the commissioner of police for Jigawa, of police for Edo State. We read about it in the paper or see it on television, which is clearly spelled out in the section, in the appropriate section of the Constitution, which says there shall be a commissioner of police in each state of the country to be appointed by the Police Service Commission.
Okay, Chief, we've run completely out of time. Completely. Is the book on sale in bookstores yet?
What's that?
Is the book on sale in bookstores yet?
Oh, no, not yet, not yet. No, this book will be formally presented to the public on the 9th of February, which is coming Thursday at Yaradua Center at 11 o'clock.
Okay.
And I invite you and your team and everybody to it.
Thank you very much, Chief.
Thank you very much indeed.
Congratulations again on your birthday and on the publishing of your book. We wish you all the best.
I thank you once again for giving me the opportunity to appear here. And please make sure you are there at the presentation of the book.
Yes, Chief.
So that you have a copy of it. You learn a lot from it. Thank you very much indeed.
We shall do our best to be there. Thank you. And thank you for staying with us. Sunrise will return in just a moment with
what you need to do to police your blood. Thank you for staying with us. I haven't still gotten over that fact we came across some months ago here about the number of cells in the human body.
How many trillion?
More than 37 trillion cells. Blood cells, bone cells, body cells.
37 trillion.
37 trillion cells.
And this...
It's a construct, please. It's a construct.
Let's just say the work of God.
I'm telling you, all knit together. The bone cells are not in the blood cells. The body cells are not in the blood cells. It's the blood cells in the blood cells. And they also have names. We're not in a biology class. But you know, blood is essential to life, carries oxygen and all the essential nutrients to help your body perform the way it ought to perform.
Like the machine that it is.
Like the machine that it is. I saw a movie years ago showing how the organs of the body move from place to place. I can't even just picture that in my head. Well, how do you keep the blood healthy? How do you ensure that your blood is performing optimally so that you live the kind of life that you need to live? How do you align your lifestyle with a healthy blood? Dr. Bodrin Yoshikomaya joins us this morning. She's a consultant hematologist. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me here once again.
Welcome again.
Thank you. It's good to see you.
It is so easy to take for granted how our blood works. It's so easy to take for granted that we have blood in the system.
Yeah.
And of course, it is also so easy for us to live so, quote unquote, carelessly that we injure the blood without knowing it. What are some of those risks that we take without knowing?
First of all, what we take into our body really matters. And you know, the blood is within our body. So if your diet, the things you drink, alcohol, cigarette smoking, eating lots of junk food, living a sedentary lifestyle, all those things, one way or the other, affects the blood. So it exposes us to the risks involved in having an unhealthy blood. I said, let me use that word. For example, you need adequate amount of blood in your body. And if you do not eat well, it is inadequate, you do not have the energy, the blood is unable to perform its functions like moving oxygen from place to place, taking your waste products from different parts of the body to organs like the kidney where it is excreted. Your body is unable to perform adequate immune functions. You know, you said something that the blood has different parts and you didn't want it to be a biology class. But no, the blood is not just red cells. We have the platelets, we have the white blood cells. And so if you do not take care of your body very well, if you do not take care of your blood very well, it will affect your immune system and then you can be prone to sicknesses. And then we have things like living a sedentary lifestyle and the blood begins to clot. I do not know if you've heard of conditions like thromboembolisms before. So there's so many things we do right now that has become a daily lifestyle that can put us at a lot of risk.
Please help us understand this sedentary lifestyle, because working from home is becoming a thing.
Yes.
Increasingly.
Increasingly.
There is nothing you can do about that.
Yes, I agree.
So help us there, because more and more people would rather work from home than go out. So help us get the balance?
So it's right now, we don't really have a choice but to work from home in many conditions. So if you are working from home, we need to do some extra things, like do exercises every few minutes, stand up, not sit down for a long time, ensure that you are able to implement 1 hour exercises a day.
1 hour?
Yes. Those are the mandated, recommended hours for exercises.
Why are you laughing?
You know, it might just be walks. You might walk around. 1 hour isn't so much. You're sitting down, you stand up for a few minutes, 5 minutes here and there.
Let me help you understand. Let me help you understand what you're saying.
Yes.
So here is a Nigerian whose car broke down, has to leave home like very early. I don't even want to imagine how early. Now, this fellow is in traffic, almost 2-3 hours to get to work, gets to work, works, gets back home at whatever odd or even hour.
8 p.m.
And this fellow is supposed to do what?
So
1 hour exercise?
So in between those periods, he's walking from place to place. Before he gets to work, he's walking to the bus stop because his car is broken down. He's going to walk to the bus stop.
So his car hasn't broken down?
His car hasn't broken down. He gets to work.
He drives to work?
Yes. He drives to work. In between, during your breaks, you must be deliberate about it. You stand up for a few minutes, you walk around for a few minutes. During your break, instead of sitting down to eat, you know, you can go elsewhere to eat. Instead of staying in the cafe, instead of eating on your table, you can decide to walk over to the cafeteria, eat with group of friends.
So even in the course of doing his work,
yes, there is.
When he's thinking, for instance, he can get up
always
and
do
walk.
something in between. Exercising doesn't mean you have to go to the gym. Hope you understand. It doesn't mean you have to put on your exercise gear and do some particular active exercises.
I just like the idea.
Yes.
But you know, while that makes a whole world of sense, at least now you know that you don't have to go to the gym to exercise. But then making a deliberate thing out of it, it's another thing. We'll come to that. But we're speaking, you know, about the blood now.
Yeah.
How do you know that you have a concern in your blood system? I don't know if it's...
My very question.
Yes.
I don't know if it's something that is so pronounced that you will know once it happens. Is it something that happens suddenly or something that builds up?
Yes, it's something that builds up over time.
But you won't know when it starts.
How would I know?
So first of all, it depends on what you want to know. You look at the functions of the blood. What are the functions of the blood that will not work well, and how are you going to be able to identify it? So let's start from being anemic. It is inadequate. You start feeling weak. You start feeling dizzy. easy fatigability, you get tired easily. Then you begin to know that there's something wrong. Once it comes to, blood moves oxygen around the body. You start becoming breathless. You begin to wonder, what is wrong with me? Because the blood is inadequate to move your oxygen from place to where you need it. The blood performs what? Excretory functions. So if the blood is if it's not adequate or is having functional issues, it affects the kidneys on the long run. So there are so many things that happens. What about if the platelets are not enough? You have a wound, then you bleed more or longer than when the period of time you should have bled. So by the time the blood has issues, those ideal functions that you should notice are unable to be performed. And then begin to notice that there's something wrong. But this does not just happen at once. It's a gradual thing.
If I become sluggish, if I begin to feel dizzy, then I should go and see the doctor.
Yes, it just might be the blood.
So what do I say to the doctor? I just tell him that I'm feeling...
Doctor, I don't feel the way I should. I don't feel my normal self. I feel sluggish. I feel tired. Can I have a complete health check? Can I have a routine health check, even if you're not feeling sluggish?
Okay, you started by saying that what you put in your body also contributes, adds up to the quality of your blood. What kinds of things should I be eating to make sure that I have a healthy blood?
So foods with high iron contents are very
Such
good.
as?
Vegetables, green vegetables, legumes, beans, red meats, beautiful. They have a high iron content. You also need foods with high vitamin content like folates. Carrots, also vegetables have a lot of folates and vitamin B codes there. So you need to take all those things. You also need foods that can help to absorb a lot of iron. Citruses help to absorb iron. So, if you have citrus, oranges, apples too, apart from citruses, they help your body to absorb a high content of iron, which will help your body to form more blood.
On that, just a quick one. Yes. My apologies for butting in. On that blood orange citrus parts. Yes. There are some times that we hear some people say certain people with certain conditions should not take oranges and quote-unquote acidic content.
Yeah. So people with peptic ulcer disease, we try to encourage them not to take too much acidic things. But we have a whole range of things you can take. If you can take citruses, you have other things. You can continue with your vegetables. They also give you what you need. And apart from what you eat, what about water? A lot of water helps your body to rehydrate itself. It helps to increase the circulation. It helps to ensure that all those toxins your body is taking also gets to the kidney and is excreted fast. So apart from the food you eat, a lot of water and rehydration also goes a long way.
I imagine that this issue of healthy blood is something that begins from when one is young. Am I correct?
When you are in utero, even before you
come out. Okay, fine.
Because blood forms right from when you are in the womb.
Yes. And you're talking now about vegetables being an integral part of actually building up, what's the word now? Healthy blood.
Healthy blood, your blood cells.
Okay. And children are quite notorious for not eating vegetables. How do you make children eat vegetables so that they begin having healthy blood?
Let me give you my experience. My kids till now do not like vegetables, no matter how much you spice the vegetables.
I still don't like vegetables.
They still do not like vegetables. So one of the things I try to do is just to give them something. Okay, if you take your vegetables, you are going to watch an extra TV program. If you take your vegetables, I'm going to take you somewhere, So it encourages them to take it. And I try to you need to make the vegetables exciting for kids. Sometimes I'll tell them, if you take this, whoever makes the loudest noise while eating the carrots is going to get something. I'm going to give you an extra pack of juice in your lunch bag. So my children till now do not like vegetables. So you need to make it exciting. You need to let them understand that when you take it, you'll be healthier.
I wonder what you're going to promise Alero, who doesn't like vegetables at almost 71.
I'll give you extra pomo. I know you like pomo. Where do you want that like pomo? Somebody likes pomo, yeah.
As I was saying.
More vegetables, more for
Okay, well, for her it would be more chocolates.
More chocolate.
Thank you.
But let me ask
Thank
this.
you.
Yes.
She asked a question the other time about intakes
Yes,
that
please.
encourage blood flow. How about the things we breathe in? I ask that because there are long queues now at fuel stations.
Oh dear.
People have to breathe in all kinds of things.
Fumes.
Clean, unclean, gas, petrol, all kinds of things.
Monoxide from the cars.
Please, help us.
So, as I said earlier, blood helps to excrete toxins from your body. So when you breathe in, it just gives the blood more work to do because the blood because you are breathing in more carbon monoxide, there's less oxygen to go to your vital organs.
And the blood is weaker as a result.
Well, I didn't say the blood just has more work to do. Blood has to do more work to make sure that the carbon monoxide and all those things are excreted. When you breathe in, it goes into your lungs. That is the first part. It is when it gets to the lung that the lung tries to remove all the toxins. That's why you see some smokers, if you see their lungs, it is dark. So all those toxins remain in the lungs. The ones that gets to the blood has to be transported around the body. So what you breathe in directly does not affect the blood, just that the blood does more work to ensure that the body gets the right amount of oxygen.
Okay, so here we are now. There are vulnerabilities that all kinds of people have. Yeah. I really wish we didn't have to talk about the blood diseases and the build up into them today. Maybe some other time we'll talk about blood diseases and how to avoid them. But for today, still talking about keeping the blood healthy. At what stage of life do we unwillingly or inadvertently begin to create injuries into our blood system or into our lifestyles without knowing it?
From birth. It happens all the time. From the time you give me, your body keeps having a lot of injuries, and without your knowledge, your body is trying to work on those injuries, repair those injuries. So from birth, even in utero, your body is doing a lot of damage control working, and that is why we really do need to take care of our bodies. Those cells get damaged, and new cells become formed. However, as you grow older, your body is unable to do as much work as it used to do. So what I did at a younger age, in my early 20s, I might not be able to do them at this age. Mm-hmm. So the body is always having exposure to injuries. And at the same time, the body has mechanisms to ensure that those injuries are well repaired, and so you are in a healthy state.
Now, you talked about, a young age now. What are practices that young people are involved in now that they need to adjust so that their lifestyles are better as they grow older?
We need to do a lot of exercises. We are so work-prone. We are so work-prone. We always want to do a lot of things.
Keeps
yes, I have to go
up.
back. Yes, because the truth is that we do so much and we do not understand that we're endangering our lives. And our blood needs to... The blood circulation really means a lot. Because if your blood does not circulate well, then you are prone to a lot of blood clots. And that is why we have a lot of people dropping dead now. Slunty died. Could it be a heart attack? Could it be a pulmonary embolism? There are so many conditions that are related to sedentary lifestyles.
What is pulmonary embolism?
Pulmonary embolism
We're not doctors.
Pulmonary embolism, pulmonary, that's the lungs, embolism, that's a blood clot. So if you sit down for a long time, or if you have risks to developing, like having high blood pressure, diabetics, and being overweight, understand, blood clots can come from different parts of your body and go get stuck in the lungs. And that could be very, very critical.
What is DVT?
Deep venous thrombosis. So deep venous thrombosis is deep vein thrombosis. So usually it's very common with the limbs. Also related
It's not a clot.
It is a clot. So there's a clot in your limbs. It's common in the limbs. There's a clot in any part of your body, usually much more in the limbs. And then it moves on from different parts of your body, and it could lead to pulmonary embolism. So pulmonary embolism is a very common complication of deep venous thrombosis. And all these are related to that sedentary lifestyle. They're also related to other things like smoking, drinking, conditions like cancers, being overweight. Even pregnancy can give you a risk to developing deep venous thrombosis.
Oh, really?
Yes, please.
And that's
scary.
Is that avoidable?
Yes, it's avoidable.
How?
How?
I told you, back to
Exercising.
That word again.
And avoiding things, avoiding acts like smoking, because smoking, it damages the vessels. And so once the vessels are damaged, the body is prone to developing these clots too, even if you're not overweight.
Madam, we have just about 5 minutes.
Yes, please.
But I want to ask, I mean, you've talked about our nutrition.
Yes, please.
That people should pay attention to nutrition.
And hydration.
And hydration. Hydration is
Yes.
probably easier because it's just water, even though it can be very common. However, I was sharing a joke yesterday with someone. And when I was growing up, rice was twice a year.
Christmas Day
and
Easter.
Outside of that, you wait for another Christmas. But today, it's almost like the options are so limited. Rice, beans, yam, that's it. That's what it looks like.
There's eba, there's amala.
Okay, well, those.
There's
now,
semo.
I'm asking that because, you know, if the options are so few, that in this age and time, how then does one spice up the meals enough to be able to generate this thing that you're talking about and live healthy?
Yes, you said a word. We both mentioned the word earlier. We have to be deliberate about our lifestyle. You need to know that you need this and you must have it. We also need to know that the large amount of food we are eating might not be what we exactly need. We also need to understand that there are very cheap vegetables that we could also have, like okra, like ewedu. There are also cheap vegetables that we can easily go to the market and have. So we need to plan our diets. It is quite expensive to take vegetables and fruits. Recently, I wanted to buy fruit and I asked for the cost and it seems as if the cost had doubled. And the cost of buying that particular vegetable can buy me two bundles of vegetables, like maybe greens. So we need to actually plan this diet.
Greens are not too tasty.
They are not too tasty, but we need them. So as I said, we need to plan our diets. We need to understand that whatever we want to eat must contain this particular thing, no matter how small the amount is. And if we do that, we will be able to get there. I know that, and you're going to ask that, things are quite difficult. How are we going to help to do this? But it all comes back to the fact that we need to plan our diets.
I noticed that you posted something about World Cancer Day.
Hey, you saw that?
Yes, I did. How vulnerable are we as a people in that regard?
Well, cancer is the prevalence and incidence of cancers are increasing daily, and that is why we are telling people to be more aware. Somebody told me that he does not think that the prevalence has increased, but we are becoming more aware
of it,
and we're having more sensitive investigative means and channels to diagnose all these things. So cancer is there. Some of them do not have a cure. Some of them have cures. Some of them you do not really know the cause, but there are lots of risks that predisposes people to different cancers. So cancer is a whole different topic. We can be prone to it and we might not be prone to it. It depends on whatever the risks are.
What's the blood got to do with it?
Well, there are some blood groups that are more prone to cancers. There are some that are not. And we have blood cancers too.
Which blood groups?
No, it depends on the cancer, so don't think about it. You have to go from cancer to cancer. They are just risks to it. I found that it can be more common in some particular blood groups. That is some particular types of cancers. We also have blood cancers that exist. The leukemias are there. The lymphomas are there. They're all sorts of cancers
How does one know if
there.
one has blood cancer?
Well, it comes to one of the things that happens with blood cancers is that it affects the counts. So dizziness, you feel dizzy, you are tired, you are having fever, you are wondering why your blood is not clotting. I have a wound and it's not clotting. Some people have swellings all over their necks, swellings in their armpits. Those are the lymphomas. Some people will have swellings in their abdomens. Either the spleen is bigger or the liver is bigger. So there are different symptoms to different forms of blood cancers. And we really do need to help to close the gap. That is the theme for this year, as well as the slogan, we need to close the gap. And I posted that, donate blood and help to close the gap, because the care of a cancer patient is so multi-dimensional, and we really need to do a little bit more to save the life of our cancer patients in Nigeria.
We could go on and on about this. I think that's some kind of precursor to our next conversation, which will be about blood diseases and how to avoid them. I sincerely, I'm not looking forward to it, but it just has to happen.
I don't like the look on your face.
It is worrying.
It is.
It is worrying.
It is.
Yes,
Worrying.
it is worrying. It is worrying. But we can do a little bit more.
Yes.
We can do a little bit more.
Well, we should just help ourselves by eating right, by exercising.
Yeah.
And have
even
regular
if it is just
checks.
Walking around our offices, you know.
You need to have regular hospital checks, regular investigations. You don't need to be sick before you go to the hospital. You also need to know that.
Yeah. I'm going to get up after this segment just to stretch my legs.
Okay.
Dr. Boduri.
I've been sitting for almost 3 hours now.
You need to stand up.
Boduri Oshikomaya is a consultant hematologist. Thank you so much for being here this morning.
Thank you very, very much.
Well, one other thing that we understand helps you to increase oxygen in the blood is to laugh, and listen to music. To call some oxy, whatever it is. We'll talk about that and a number of other things when we return. Do stay with us.
Thank you for staying with us. Now, we have an unusual artist of the week today. And he's got a funny name, too. Sleaze the Wheeze. Not the weasel, Whiz. And he's a talent manager, music business executive, and a broadcaster. His real name, by the way, is Tumi Lawrence. Good morning, Tumi.
Yeah, good morning to you.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, so great to be here.
Well, I haven't told you the most exciting part of having him with us this morning, or the most exciting part of what he does. He is currently the talent and label manager of one of Africa's biggest artists. You got it right.
Drum roll.
Kiss Daniel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, that one.
Can you imagine? This guy works with Kiss Daniel, no less.
No, the next thing, first of all, before we ask you any question, you're going to bring Kiss Daniel here.
Yeah, he's been there a couple of years back. I'm sure he's going to come around too. Yeah.
Okay, good. Committed. And now you can ask your question.
I'm sure the people are looking at you from home now, and
who's this?
They're all green with envy. You actually can see Kiss Daniel every day. You know, discuss his music with him and all that.
Absolutely, that's what we do.
Oh my God!
What does it take to be an artist manager?
Well, it takes a lot. It takes a lot. It's one of the jobs that looks very lucrative on the outside, but it is lucrative. But it takes a lot of commitment. It's a serious work. Now, people see the glamour from the outside. Like, you guys just have fun, you guys just travel and everything. You guys are just going around the world. You do? But the truth is, it's a lot of pressure. Now, for a talent manager, the fact is, you cannot be called successful until someone else is successful.
True.
So, if you're selling something, if you're a painter and you're successful at what you do, you'll be called a successful painter. But for a talent manager, you cannot be called successful until your artist becomes successful.
Yes.
So which means you have to, whatever it is that your own plan, you have to pause it. And you have to focus on your artist. You have to be very selfless. You have to make a lot of sacrifices. You know?
Yes, Kiss Daniel had made some hits before Buka. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Buga came along and shot him into the stratosphere.
Literally shot other songs he did before that down.
Shut all of them down. In fact, I don't think many of us even remember anything
Oh, no,
else.
I remember one. I have a favorite.
Which one is that?
Hey, God, do.
Barnabas.
It's still my favorite till tomorrow.
So what was it like working on that with him?
Okay, so now this is the thing, yeah. When you want to release a song, you know it to be a big song. You know it to be
Oh, you
a hit
know.
song. Yes, but you don't know
Sometimes you don't.
You don't know how big it will be, but you know it has to be better than your last release. And it has always been like that with all our releases. From when it came out in 2014 with Woju and a few other songs, when the album came out and all of those ones, each release is always better than the last.
But we had an artist here who said to us that he released something and he couldn't believe how big it became.
Yeah.
Because it was one of the, okay, let's just put it in the album,
Yes.
just to complete the number.
And that happens.
And it became the biggest hit.
Sure, that happens, but you know, when you're dropping a single, you're selecting a song from a lot of songs. You might have to select one song from 30 songs or 50 songs. All right, for you to decide and say, this is a song I want to put out, then that means you believe in the song. The entire team has listened to the song. There has been a strategy session, you know, talking about, okay, why this song should go out. Okay, does it have a viral effect? Who's going to love it? Who's the target audience? We treat music like a product. You know, look out for the USP of the song. How do we market it? How do we promote it? All right. So you can't put all of those things
and this
in a
is
release.
all your job.
Yes, put a team together. Of course, depending on how big the artist is, you have a lot of other people working. Now, as a talent manager, sometimes you're the road manager, you're the business manager, you're the booking manager. But for an artist as big as Kiz, we have other people working as well. So we have a road manager. So even if he's traveling, I don't have to be on the road with him, because there's a road manager who takes care of the schedule, right? So we could have.
Do you have to be at the show?
Yes, I have to be at the show.
Okay.
But sometimes, if I have other things to do, the road manager will take care of that.
Okay.
Now, there's something I want to ask you. Yeah, and it's one of the things that really troubled me about artist management. We have had artists that, what's the word you use now? Blow. Oh, blew.
Blood.
Like a dynamite.
I want blow.
Yes, that they became big, very famous. But in no distant future, they went down as quickly as they came up. We have had such histories successively. And we have had artists that had hits after hits after hits after hits. Some of them are not producing hits anymore, but they are still as relevant. An example is King Sunny Ade. Yes. An example is Tubaba, for instance. But they're still as relevant as can be. What are the things responsible for how big, sustainably big, an artist is? How do you profile an artist? And what are the things the artists must give up in order for your job to be easy or successful?
Okay, first thing is talent. You know, that's the first of the work of an A&R. All right, so when you're scouting for talent for a label, you have to ensure that you've got an artist that has that talent. Whose talent is unquestionable.
Just a second. Earlier, someone was talking about some brosis we don't understand. That's a medical jargon.
Okay.
A&R is a music jargon. What is it?
Artists and repertoire.
Good.
So what that means is that one's responsible for scouting for artists for labels. And you don't just scout for the artist, you also see to the development of the artist, the career development of the artist. So when you bring an artist newly from the street or from anywhere you bring him, okay, he can sing so well, but can he hit certain notes? Can he perform with a live band? So those are the things, those are the processes you go through before you unveil the artist. That you ensure that the artist becomes very solid. This artist, does he need songwriters? You know, does he have to be going for training sessions every time for his vocals to get better? So you ensure that is done, all right? So when you launch the music, there are two things involved in music business. That is the music itself and the business, all right? And a lot of the times, the artists don't understand the business. So the artist just sings, submits the music, and the label puts up a team and they strategize and say, okay, how do we promote this song? You know, how do we... So they treat it like a product. Now, the artist does not understand this. Most of them, some do, Because some are very inquisitive, like, okay, what are you doing with my music? How are you promoting it? But a lot of people don't. They just submit the music and that's it. It's only when they tell you, okay, post this song, and when the song become big, come for interviews, let's go for shows and all of that. Now, an artist that is not careful might get carried away. And he might want to be a boss before he's actually a boss. What do I mean? He might want to pull out from his label. He might want to sack people that understand his business, all right? Because he feels, okay, I'm the star. If I drop the music, people will scream. And truly, if he drops music, people will come towards it. But when the people there were part of the strategy session, put a strategy in place for the artists to blow up and for the music to become popular, when they're no longer there, there will be a visible decline over a period of time. Because there are different phases in the life of an artist. When it's out there on the street with no money to record music, then it starts recording music, then someone notices it and says, okay, fine, let me invest in you, all right? So someone who is investing, like in every business, there will be a return on investment. So he will make sure that the music sells, right? So if you don't understand the business aspect of the music and you, as an artist, you now decide to go on your own, it's just a matter of time.
What role does money play in all this?
Money plays a huge role. Money plays, when you take out the talent, money is the next thing.
How does...
Because to record the music, you have to pay for it. To mix the music, you have to pay for it. So when you produce the song, and it now depends on how much money you have, that depends on the kind of producer you're going to work with.
That's the job of the manager or the artist?
The job of the manager to look for the producer.
So it's the manager that pays for all the...
Okay, now so if an artist is signed to a label, your label takes care of all of that. All you need to do is just to sleep and wake up and record.
So how is the sharing formula, if there's such a thing, determined?
No, it depends on negotiating power.
Okay.
All right. So
Okay, what is standard practice for? Because somebody watching now might look at you and decide, wow, I want to be able to work with someone like Kiss Daniel, so I want to be like this guy. But can we give him an idea of what he's going to get paid?
Okay, now
if he doesn't have a Kiss Daniel.
Okay, now so the thing is, when it comes to music business, I won't really say there's a standard contract. Contracts are negotiated.
Okay.
All right. So depending on what the label is doing for you, that determines how much they're going to take from you. So, for example, when some artists are signed to a label, they give them an advance payment. Okay, so you've not started making money, you've not started recording, take this 10 million, take this 5 million, take this 1 million.
And the song comes out and it's big.
So they also give you maybe like a car or a house. So those ones, in your contract, they will take a larger portion of your revenue.
Income, yes.
They might take 80%, they might take 70%.
Because, they got to take their money back.
So it depends on what you negotiate. And there are people, I've seen contracts where it's 50-50. All right? Don't give me a house, don't give me a car, don't give me advance payments, just record my music, promote it. Whatever comes in, we split in half. For some, it's 60-40. For some, I've seen 25-75.
Uh-oh.
So that's why, as an artist, you don't sign a contract without a lawyer. It is advisable for you not to sign a contract without a lawyer. You don't sign a contract without a lawyer because you might just look at the fine print, but there are clauses there.
Yeah, but that's what some artists are said to have done. You just got them. How much are you giving me? Okay, let me just sign.
Yeah.
And then that's
because
it.
They just want to become popular as soon as possible, and
they
it's just a matter of time.
As you said.
When you have a big song, and you now realize that, okay, I don't own my masters. So this song belongs to the label. So no matter how big this song is, I don't own it. You signed off your publishing to them, you signed off your masters to them, So the best thing is, before you sign a contract, get a lawyer. Some of them, sign off their images, their names and everything, So
oh dear.
It's really crazy out there. But.
So now, because many people see big artists, they celebrate the artists. In fact, you are a clog in the way. They want to get close to the artist, you're not allowing them to get close to the artist. There's a clog in the way. We'll come back to that, hopefully. But How do you profile a guest? I perceive from a distance, I could be wrong, but I perceive that Kiss Daniel is an introvert.
Yes, it is.
Now, how do you get an introvert before a camera to do the things that he does? How do you get an introvert to stay on stage and perform like that? How do you create the identity or the image for that kind of artist?
It's very simple. It's the job. So you've got to be a professional. So even if it's not your thing, because artists are quite different. There are artists that all they just want to do is stay in the studio and record music. When you tell them to step out of the studio, it's an inconvenience. When you tell them to come and probably shoot a video or perform, they don't want it. But guess what? If you don't do it, you don't get paid.
Yeah.
That's the reality, all right? There are certain things that have to be done. You know, there are certain things we do when it comes to our jobs as individuals that we don't really like, but you gotta show up. A lot of people are not morning persons, but you gotta show up. If you have to resume at 8, you have to show up, you have to leave your house.
At 4 a.m. if possible.
When an artist does not do the things the manager tells him or her to do, what happens?
Okay, there'll be discipline, of course.
Who's going to discipline you? Because without the artist, you said it here, but without the artist manager doesn't have a job.
Yeah, there are some ways you discipline an artist. You know, like for example, if an artist is signed to a label and there's certain things they're supposed to do and they're not doing, there could be deductions from their revenue.
Like go for a radio show or a TV show or come for an appearance.
Yeah, it's outlined. It's outlined in your contract. Some of the things you have to do, and if you don't, there'll be some measures of discipline. They could, if you're still on salary, they could cut the salary.
Oh,
yeah, because some artists are on salary before they become very big and they start making money.
How compliant are artists? Who have the big ones?
I know 100%. Nobody likes to be tamed. You know, nobody likes to be tamed. But it's very important. It's very important that you have a relationship with your artists. Right? So it's a matter of you not even forcing them to do it, but making them see reasons why they have to do it. And they are not stupid individuals. If they try it once and they see that, oh, well, what this guy said actually came to pass, the next time you're saying it, they will listen. Because at the end of the day, everybody's eyes on the prize. They want to win, right? So there will be different kinds of ideas. What I'm telling the artist, he might not agree with it, right? And there is room for argument. There's room for us to disagree on certain things. But the fact is, this thing has to be done for you to get this thing, for you to get to where you're going, all right? So if he doesn't want to do it at that point, fine, no problem. Let's see how it goes. But as a manager, you have to be preventive. You know, if he doesn't do this thing, this is likely to happen. So what are you doing to prevent that from happening? At least to minimize the consequences. So that's an extra job for you as a manager. He doesn't have to know you're doing all that, but you have to. Because if he doesn't, if there are consequences, it comes back to your table to fix it.
Okay. Now, I have another question. Alera, I'm sorry, because I'm taking notes. So you have is there a difference, or rather, how do artists like Kiss Daniel, Davido, and the rest of them differ from artists like K1, those who have bands, standing bands, as opposed to those who probably don't?
Okay, now, so the difference is a lot of years back, you know, before the digital era, recordings were analog. So for you to even sing, you must have a band. So someone has to come and play the drums, someone has to come and play the keyboard, someone has to come and play the omele, the shekere, all of those instruments, you know, because there were no digital boards. But now, a producer can fix all of that.
Play all the instruments.
On his laptop in a room.
Laptop, not even a keyboard.
On a laptop, the keyboard, you can connect the keyboard to it. You can even play the keyboard on the laptop. No, you can do all of those.
How do you play the keyboard on the laptop?
You need, don't even go there.
Now, all you need to do,
don't even
because
bother.
there are different types of software that you can use to produce music now. So there's Fruity Loops, there's Logic, all right. All you need to do is just probably drag a guitar line and create the tone. It's as simple as that. So way back, you have to drag all of these people in the studio, and they have to record at the same time.
Physically.
If anybody makes a mistake, they start all
Begin
over
again.
All right. So that was the beginning.
Take two.
You know. So, but when people started having these softwares to work with, then it minimizes the necessity of having all of these guys. But even with that, all of these artists, even when they record digitally, they now perform with their bands now.
So they have standing bands, or they just hire guys?
Performs with a band everywhere in the world. So even if you've recorded the music digitally, now you still have rehearsal sessions with the band, you know, so they play within, they can play, whatever it is they played on the computer can be played live as well.
Have you ever had an artist you didn't get along with?
Yes, at some point. But once I sensed that we're not likely to get along, I'll even take it up. That would be like a probation period of, okay, let's get to, you know, just hang around each other, let's listen to each other for a couple of weeks, months. If I sense that, no, this is not going to work, there's no point. You know.
Okay.
So once I sense that I can work with this guy, then it's all the way. Even if there are issues along the line, we'll fix it.
Okay. What are you currently working on? Would that
currently working on with Kiss Daniel?
With Kiss, yes.
Yeah, of course. This year, should I be the one to... Let's leave that.
Okay. What other artists are you managing?
Obviously, we're going on tour this year, you know, like we're going on tour and we'll release...
Within or without?
On tour, it's a world tour.
World tour.
Yeah, we're doing a global tour. So, of course, this year we're touching Europe, touching North America, Africa, of course. Last year, it toured the most in Nigeria. Kizana toured the most in Nigeria. You know, he played more African shows than anybody in Nigeria last year. And of course, in December, he came back home in December. He played more shows than anybody in December last year.
Okay.
You know,
wow.
We have to go.
We're doing that this year as well.
Quickly, what other artists do you manage?
Okay, so because of concentration, I don't manage artists on this level.
Okay.
Yeah, so that would be conflicts of interest.
So they would, okay.
You know, so
Smaller
like
boys.
most times what I do is I do consultation for labels. I do A&R, event scout for artists. You know, and take them through a developmental process where they can be better.
Okay.
You know.
Sleaze the ways.
No wonder he's so sleaze.
Sleaze the ways. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much.
Being
I
our
appreciate
guest today. Timmy Lawrence.
Toomey Lawrence.
Toomey Lawrence, yes.
Toomey Lawrence. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much.
And we wish you all the best, and we hope that you will bring Kiss Daniel to our studio, so that we'll be the first ones to interview him after he blew or he blowed, as the case may be. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
So that's the end of Sunrise for this day. Thank you very much for spending the last God knows how many hours you've been with us. We'll bring you a fresh edition next week. Make sure you're there to join us as well. My name is Alero Edu.
And I'm Ayo Makinde. Don't forget, you can still pick up your PVC. Bye for now.